Hi everyone, welcome back to another Barrel Proof Baseball Podcast bottle review. So in my reviews, my goal has kind of been to review some bottles that are commonly found. I really want to be able to introduce new bourbon or whiskey drinkers to bottles that they can walk into just a general liquor store and it's going to be sitting there. So that's kind of been the goal. The flip side of that is there's a lot of other distilleries that are out there. There's craft distilleries. There's just there's distilleries that don't go to certain markets, and so because of that, there's a lot of bottles that you're not going to find sitting on your shelf every day. But they may be bottles that are worth finding, and if you do find them, they're very worth picking up. I reached out to a number of distilleries to try and get representatives from their distillery onto the podcast, or to get some samples sent so I can do some reviews. And a number of them were kind enough to agree to either come on and or send samples. One of those companies was Coalition Whiskey. I reached out to Coalition Whiskey. Their product looked interesting, so I reached out to them and they were nice enough to write back, talk a little bit, and send me this bottle. So I'd like to review this bottle, and hopefully if this is something that sounds interesting, if you ever come across it, or you get the opportunity to try it out, that maybe you give it a try. So this is out of the great state of Kentucky. It is super interesting. Now, this bottle, first of all, the bottle itself is one that just based on the look of it is worth having. First, the label up here is a 18 karat gold plated label. The entire bottle, the cap included, is this like riveted glass, and it's super heavy. Like, this is a heavy duty glass. When you take the lid off, that's my favorite part. The lid is heavy duty glass. I thought this was going to be plastic, and it's full glass. So this is a really cool looking bottle. This, if anything else, this is going to look awesome sitting on your shelf because it's so classy. Like, from the second I saw it, this thing just screams elegance. The bottle itself was inspired by the 1920s era Art Deco, and it's just such a unique looking bottle that this thing sitting on your shelf is just going to add like a coolness factor that I think a lot of us are missing. So for that in itself, that is a huge selling point. It's not a super high proof whiskey. Now, this is a 46.3% alcohol, 92.6 proof, and it is 100% rye. So for me, I just recently got into ryes, and I really like them. I think it adds a nice spice. I think it adds to some of the lower proof bourbons. When you have the bourbon with a higher rye content, it adds a spice that's missing. When you go to a rye whiskey that flips it and you don't have as high of a corn content and you have a higher rye content, it adds a spice that is really nice that I think sometimes the bourbons that don't have a high proof and don't have much rye content, I think it kind of misses that. So when I got into ryes, I was actually going with I went with Rittenhouse rye. Actually, was my first one because that one's 51% rye. There's a high corn content, so it really mellows out that rye spice. This is 100% rye, and I've never had a 100% rye bottle. 10% of that 100% rye content is a malted rye. So it's going to have some spice to it, and it's a little bit tricky because when you nose this bottle, it is straight dark fruit. There's no spice on this nose. I mean, you stick your nose in there and it doesn't smell like a high proof. It doesn't smell like a high rye. It certainly doesn't smell like 100% rye. I think going into it, when you think this 100% rye, you have this idea that it's just going to be spice, and the nose is unbelievably pleasant. I was shocked by this because it's plum. It's hard to distinguish. Like, I get plum and like a raisin. I think it can kind of go one or the other. I would say plum just because I also get like a cherry out of it too. So it's really that dark fruit that I don't normally get on the nose from a lot of whiskeys, but their whiskeys, their ryes, are all finished in Bordeaux wine barrels. They have a high proof rye that's not finished in a Bordeaux barrel, but they offer 3 different expressions that are all finished in Bordeaux wine barrels. So I think that's where that comes from on the nose. I think it probably mellows out that rye spice and really adds to the dark fruits that you get up front on the nose. Now, I did try this. As you can tell, I got this yesterday, so obviously I didn't hate it. But when you take this sip, I'm just going to tell you, that's where you get the rye, okay? Yep, and there it is. So that rye spice, it's still going, it lingers. Wow, that rye spice is right on the palate. Right when you take that sip, you get rye. So when you nose this, you're going to get dark fruits. You're going to get those dark red fruity scents. When you take this sip, if you anticipate that this is going to be a red fruity fruit punch like drink, you're in for a rude awakening. We'll put it that way, because this spice definitely comes through. The nose, what's really nice about this is having that nose with the red fruits and then going to the spice and then having that spice. It's like a pepper and it lingers all the way. I mean, it's a long finish. And then it's like it finishes really quickly with another hint of that like cherry. So what's cool is the complexity of this, given the fact that you get the fruitiness from those Bordeaux barrels into that spice from the rye, and it lingers out and then finishes again back with a little bit of fruitiness, is awesome. Man, that's nice. Yeah, I really like this. In addition to one of the cooler bottles that I've seen, the complexity of having the Bordeaux barrel affect the nose of it, and then the rye spice throughout the sip and finish, and that peppery finish, and then that very ending back to that fruit is so nice. It adds so many different layers to this. I'm shocked. Like I think this, hopefully this is around everywhere and people can get their hands on it. I didn't see the price point on it, but in all honesty, I would imagine this is kind of expensive. I would pay for this bottle. I think this is one of those bottles that when you try it, it adds so many different layers that it's not just a standard rye whiskey that you're going to find on the shelf every day. There are different layers to this, and this makes that this bottle from Coalition so cool. So if you can get your hands on this, I would really check it out. I would definitely, I would not hesitate to buy this bottle if I saw it sitting on the shelf. So I would really recommend it. This is a 4 to 5 year aged whiskey. It ages in white oak, and then it is finished in the Bordeaux barrels for up to 9 months. So it's got a nice long finish on it, and I definitely think that flavor comes through. So I really think, given the fact that it's such a complex bottle, that this is well worth it. So kudos to Coalition Whiskey on this one, because this is a really good bottle, and I really enjoy it, and I'd highly suggest picking this up if you can find it. So go to coalitionwhiskey.com. Read a little bit more about their story. It's a really neat website. They've got a lot of information about their founders on it, how they came to aging it in Bordeaux barrels, and just a lot of information on the brand. So I would really recommend checking it out, and let me know what you think. So enjoy. Cheers.